taking the time to join us this evening for our first ever online foundation assembly. I'm Mike Hayes, past district governor. I'll be attempting to moderate this meeting. This meeting is being hosted by the E-Coastal Rotary Club. Charles, are you still president?
I am.
But by the president of the E-Coastal Rotary Club, and so I'm going to turn it over to Charles to explain how this works.
All right, very briefly, and in the interest of time, what we're doing is we're just using screen sharing technology. So everything that is going on today is just simply a screen that's being shared, and very simple to do. At the bottom of your screen, if you'll just drag your mouse, you will see a toolbar. And the toolbar will allow you to mute your microphone and also to turn your video off. And that's what we'd like to have you to do today, please. If you would please use those two tools on the bottom of the screen to turn your microphone on mute and turn your screen off. Also to the right, there are three dots, and if you'll mouse over those three dots, we'd ask that you present your questions to Mike Hayes. You'll see a drop down on there, and you can present a question directly by chat to Mike. Mike will read those questions back at the end of the meeting today and answer all open questions. And that's about it. Mike, I'll turn it back to you.
All right, thank you. For our opening prayer, our District Interact Chair and District Governor nominee, Yvonne Norman. Yvonne? Hello, Yvonne.
I know Yvonne was having some audio problems earlier. Okay, folks, this is live.
Okay, do I have a volunteer from the assembled group to lead us in the invocation?
If you wish, I can do it.
Please.
Sure, please bow your heads. Today we pray that we receive your special blessing, Lord, because we're committed to be an honest service organization to help humankind. May each of us in our daily routine come to know the joy of caring and sharing with others, not as fortunate as we are. May our motto that includes serving, caring, and sharing be for us life service as well as lip service. We ask this in your holy name. Amen.
All right. Thank you, Mike. And for the Pledge of Allegiance, former District Secretary and District Governor-elect Harold Domingue.
Thank you, Mike. You may remain seated. If you remain seated, you'll still be seen on the camera. But join me in the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Harold. And for the four-way test and opening address is our District Governor, Gary Lacombe.
So, fellow Rotarians, of the things that we think, say, and do, please recite with me. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you. I just wanted to welcome everybody to this. This is the second session that we've had. As Mike said, it's the first for our foundation. We're looking forward to it. We will have a survey that Frank Bradshaw is gonna make available via electronic when we're done, so that we need your feedback, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna learn together and we're gonna grow together. So please participate as much as you can. And with that, I'll just turn it over to the group. I can't thank the folks behind the scenes enough that's made all this happen. So with that, take it away.
All right. Leading off will be our District Foundation Chair, past District Governor Mike Collins.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome, everyone. Tonight, my goal will be to show you where we are and where we want to be as a district. And As most of you know, the foundation is the backbone of Rotary International. And without our foundation would be simply clubs doing little things with much smaller impact on our community and our world. I think everyone could see our opening screen for foundation giving. This starts off with my Rotary year as governor, and it ends with Martha's one. This is a 10-year span. And notice that line at $300,000 mark.
Mike, excuse me. This is Gary. I can't see it. Can't see it.
Not see it.
Share your screen.
Okay, let me go back down. I'm sorry. Let me go back and get it. Share screen.
No, that's not where,
Okay.
that's not where you share.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. And we practiced this before, too.
Yeah. Okay. Right here.
We did share
There we go.
screen.
Okay. Now, could everyone see it?
There you go.
All right. And
Okay.
if you notice this line, the $300,000 mark, just to please note that the last 5 years, we've been over $300,000 in foundation giving overall as our district. And I also want to say that 7 of the last 10 years have been over $300,000. We're doing well. But here's a key point. Only 50% of our clubs are $100 per capita or more. Our next screen is,
Don't wait.
okay, hang on. Okay, here we go. Everybody sees this, I'm sure.
Yep.
Okay. For the trends 2017 and 18, I want to say that we've exceeded $300,000 with only 50% of our club members giving $100 per capita.
Mm-hmm.
And 50% are eligible to be 100% sustaining member clubs. But I also want to say that some clubs more than doubled their giving. And I want to point out 3 of them. If you look at Kinder, Lockport, and Plaquemine, you can see they don't have to have big, large members to have a big club giving. There's 4 clubs that increase their donations by 30 to 40%. And look at this: Franklin, Golden Meadow, Port Allen, Westlake. Now, the last thing at the bottom, the number of clubs donating $0 decreased more than 50% for 2017-18. Somebody says, oh, wow, we have some clubs that don't give anything. I'll be honest with you, we had 7 of them. Now we're down to 3. And I think that the reason for this is that people are finding out more about the foundation, that we're getting money in return. And I'll talk to you about that in a little bit. Our next screen, I want to congratulate the clubs with the largest donations. If you notice, Baton Rouge is our largest club, but they gave $52,000 this past year. $102 per capita. That's incredible. Lake Charles also in Lafayette. And you can see they have a sizable amount of membership in there. Now, if you want to talk it per capita per club, how much, if you divide the number of Rotarians by the amount of money that they gave, Baker has $504 per capita with 19 members. Lake Charles, $462 per capita, and Golden Meadow, $380 per capita. You know, a lot of people always say, give until it hurts. I say, give until it helps. It's going to do most good by giving a little bit bigger. And how do people do this? Maybe a small club that gives so much. Well, some club members might be Paul Harris Society members, which means that they give $1,000 every year. This really helps with the club per capita, and it also helps them to get a Paul Harris that they could give to a family member or a friend. And some can't give $1,000 every year. They're sustaining members of $100, but somebody said, I could give a little bit more, so they give $200 a year. It's called double sustaining members. And triple sustaining members, of course, give $300 a year. And this will bring you close to getting your Paul Harris points to be a Paul Harris Fellow. You could also use those points to match people in your club to help them to give more. Our next screen is talking about the projects that use district designated funds, and we have many of them. We have, first of all, our district grants. You know, this year, District 6200 awarded $65,000 for club grants. Now, how did this happen? We got back $130,000 from the foundation that we gave. We got half of it back from 3 years ago. ORI holds the $130,000, the other half, and that $130 is accessible for us to tap into. Try to find charitable organizations that you give to them and they'll actually give it back to you. Now, as Governor Gary's been pointing out at his club visits, we awarded 33 grants, and these grants are valued at $1,000 to $2,000 each. Now, the global grants, we're involved with 11 global grants.
2-minute warning.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Mike. Because of the matching funds, that's donor advised funds, we're probably invested in about $1 million worth of projects. And Governor Gary, by the way, is participating on behalf of our district in a marathon on January 20th. We're trying to get Rotarians to pledge $70 each because all monies go to polio. And besides $27,600 matched by the Gates Foundation's 2-to-1, that's going to be about $83,000. We have this cause that's going to be donating to the foundation in regards to polio. And this next one, we are asking that you make the foundation your charity of choice. Rotary allows you to make the choices as to how your money is spent. And basically, that's the things I wanted to point out to you. We will have it online for you to maybe get these slides for you, and maybe you could explain it to the clubs. And if you notice donor advised funds, this is when a person or district wants the money to go to a particular project. So I know that I don't want to run over time, so I want you to thank you for allowing me the time to share our district's statistics on the foundation. At this time, I'd like to have our assistant, well, it's actually Gasper Chafisi that's going to be coming up with our district grant projects, an example of it. So Gasper.
Thank you, Mike. I'm going to talk about a grant that a district grant that we did in Ascension Parish. I'm going to share a screen I have right now. So can you see that?
Not yet.
Okay.
There it is.
Okay. So we recognized a need. How most projects start, as you know, district grant projects start. We recognized a need in Ascension Parish, primarily or particularly at 2 of our primary schools, Donaldsonville Primary and Gonzales Primary. In Donaldsonville, 95% of the pre-K through 5th grade kids qualify for free meals, and in Gonzales Primary, over 85%. Which means they come from a financially disadvantaged family. So we looked at that need, and we knew that one club could help a few of the kids and at one of the schools perhaps. But if we got the 4 Ascension Parish clubs together, then we thought we could combine our clubs into a very successful grant project, adding some club funds to that. So we knew we could do a great deal if all 4 clubs got together to do this. So for the first time, the 4 Ascension Parish clubs joined forces to do a grant project. So we applied one application actually, but memorandums of understanding from the other 3 clubs and from Volunteer Ascension, one of our partners with the project, and we got permission and in fact the school superintendent was quite happy that we were willing to do this. So we, for the very first time, combined forces to do a project. So we each applied, we each got a $2,000 grant, which gave us $8,000, and we added another $3,000 from the clubs, totaling $11,000. So we were able, with that $11,000, to provide 500 backpacks, 250 at each of the schools, filled with books. And you saw a couple of the books that we were using these. So it's primarily a literacy project. One was an American history book, in fact. So, and we filled not only with books, but also with food for the kids who may not have food over the weekend, to have something over 1 or 2 weekends at least. So the 4 clubs worked really well together on this project. There were really 3 days of project work. We had to collect the food, the books, and the supplies, and pack the backpacks on one day, and that's what you see these folks doing. The parish allowed us to use a parish building to do this. So the second day, we brought the backpacks to each of the 2 schools on the morning of what's called prep day. And that's where the parents bring kids to sign up for meals and bus service and to meet teachers and that sort of thing. And then we distributed the backpacks to the kids later on that prep day. So we had over 70 Rotarians working hands-on on that project, either on the first, second, or third day, or on all 3 days. So it was a terrific project. It was the first project that we had all 4 clubs in Ascension work on together. We had a post-op meeting after the project to talk about the success of the project. And we decided, yes, we want to do this again. We were much more effective in doing something at these 2 kids with all 4 of us joining forces. So I'll end with this slide here, with most of us, I think, on that last day that were there, including Parish President Kenny Matassa. So, Tom, I'm going to stop sharing here and turn this over to you for your point, Tom.
Thank you, Gasper. Well, I'm going to be talking about global grants now that we've covered the district with Vine Project in Ascension Parish. And and so what I'm going to cover is humanitarian grants, which are large projects, and it's only one of the 3 elements that a grant can be made by the Rotary Foundation. The others are going to be covered later. Mike Hayes will talk about the scholar, or somebody's going to talk about the scholarship. Maybe, I'm not sure who that is. And the third one is a grant can be given for a vocational training team. We've had VTTs in the past, but they've been done with district money. So what we're talking about today is a humanitarian project that started a little over a year ago, when one of our members, our new members in my Rotary Club of Baton Rouge, who's from Africa, had a contact with a club in Kenya. And that's the essence. So you have to know somebody in that country where the work's going to be done, and they have to take the ball and do all the heavy lifting. So global grants support large international activities. And by large, we're talking anywhere from a $30,000 project to a $200,000 contribution by the Rotary Foundation. The matching that the foundation will do, if it's district dedicated funds, they'll match those 50-50. And if it's cash, it's 50% on the dollar. So our particular project in Kenya is going to be in the city of El Dorado. And this location has got about 300,000 people. It's got 1 Rotary Club, folks, with 20 members. But they're the most active club that I've ever been exposed to. The city itself is best known, I think, because of its altitude of almost over 7,000 feet. The district champion runners all come from Kenya, from this part of Kenya. And people go there from other countries to train at the high altitudes and develop their lung capacity. So this club was able to submit a foundation grant request in December of this year for a very special program where 11 clubs rather in Africa each submitted a WASH project. They were not successful in that effort, but we're now planning to resubmit that grant for $500,000, and the country of Kenya will be a big contributor to that. So what is WASH? It's water, sanitation, and hygiene. Areas of focus, and the other areas are going to be discussed later in the program. So whatever you're doing for a global grant, it has to be to further one of these areas of focus. Now, in our particular project, we're going to be at 13 different schools, most of them public. One is a Catholic school. It's going to benefit a total of 3,000 students, and it's going to be primarily replacing terribly antiquated systems with new systems for both water and hygiene, sanitation. And it's going to include training of the faculty at these schools, which are K through 8. They're not high schools. The high schools have been upgraded previously. So that's what we're doing. This is a lineup, as you can see here, for the outhouse. Now, the siding on the outhouse is a lot better looking than at most of the other schools that we have pictures of. But you can see the crowd going, out there in the morning. And once you get inside, this is what you're looking at, folks. It's very primitive. If you're really old, you may have seen one of these in our country, but it's simply not sanitary. And it's going to be replaced by brand new facilities that are state of the art for the location. Our club in Baton Rouge is committed to raise $30,000 as a share for this $500,000 project. And we're very grateful to clubs that have already participated in this for the first go round, including the Club of DeRitter, which came in with $1,000. You can donate, and you see this on the screen, by mailing us a check. And if you need information, you can contact me or anyone at the Rotary office in Baton Rouge. We do expect, right now we've got $22,000 in the bank. We do expect to be awarded a significant grant from another foundation here in town who supports international projects. So, but anything you can do may well contribute to your club record as having an international project for this year. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions or move it on to the next speaker.
Well, I think it's important to note, Tom, that we will have all of these presentations online. They'll be available at the district website and on DACDB. So your presentation will be available for those who want to see it. And the other point is that this is being recorded, and so these presentations will be available for viewing, for makeup, or for presentations.
Thank you, Mike. And next, Mike, you've got the ball.
All right. We just talked about district grants. We just talked about the larger global grants. These grants are accessible to really any club in the district that wants to wants to acquire one. So the way that you acquire one is you approach the foundation either through the district level or through, well, starting at the district level is the best way, but through the areas of focus. The foundation is managed by Rotary, giving grants for all sorts of things that are within the areas of focus. That first area of focus, disease prevention and treatment, is where you find polio. Polio eradication is funded through grants through the Polio Plus program, but they're also working on other things such as malaria and other diseases, and not only prevention but also treatment. Tom just talked about water and sanitation. The path to civilization requires a source of clean water. If you don't have a source of clean water, then you don't have the opportunity really to do anything but fight your daily existence. Only 4 out of 5 children in the world make it to their 5th birthday because they don't have access to clean water. The next area of focus is maternal and child health. Not only do we have to take care of our children, but we have to take care of their mothers, build families, and building families is the next step on the road to civilization also. The next area, the area where we are able to use vocational training teams, is the basic education and literacy area of focus. There are a lot of grants, district grants and global grants focused on education and literacy. And that's where we fund our vocational training team. Economic and community development is the next area of focus. Rotary has done a lot in the developing world to do community development, do economic development. For example, what's a small amount of money to us have been given in microfinance loans for women to be able to purchase sewing machines. Once they have a sewing machine, then they are able to engage in commerce and basically make their way in life. And so teaching economic and community development is extraordinarily important for the developing world. And then finally, peace and conflict resolution. Rotary sends over 200 scholars to advanced training in universities to become peace scholars. Upon graduation with a master's degree, they're deployed to places that need conflict resolution. And so these areas of focus are areas where we can identify needs in our communities, we can identify needs in the world, and can use the Rotary Foundation to have an impact. We can do good in the world by getting grants within these areas of focus. So with that, another area that we spend foundation money on is global scholarships. And I turn it over to District Governor-elect Harold Domingue.
Thank you, Mike. I'm going to go ahead and get this up. Can you guys see this?
Not yet.
Well, okay. I think I need to share first.
There it is.
There we go.
Yep.
Okay, guys, this is a presentation that I was asked by Donna Landry, our scholarship grants chair for a number of years, to present to you. She's on a work assignment in Wisconsin. I also have the great fortune of being able to introduce a former Rotary Ambassadorial Scholar after this presentation. He'll talk to you about his experiences as a scholar. As many of you know, though, Donna herself was an Ambassadorial Scholar who studied for a year in Cairo, Egypt, back in the 1980s. Since joining Rotary, Donna has been greatly involved with her home club as well as the district and has served as the Grant Scholarship Chair for a number of years. I would venture to say that without Donna Landry, our scholarship program in the district would not be nearly as successful as it's been.
Hey, Harold,
Want to give you that?
can you hit the play button, please?
Is it not playing?
Hit the play button at the top.
No, because I don't like the way it goes. Is that going to be a problem for y'all?
It's all right.
So I just wanted to give Donna that plug and to give her a heartfelt thanks. So I'm moving on to the next slide. Global scholarships, global grant, it's a global grant scholarship, and it is for 1 year of graduate study. So you have to now be a graduate student to study and to get one of our scholarships. You have to study outside of the United States, and it has to fit within those 6 areas of focus that Mike Hayes just talked to you about. The award is a minimum of $30,000. I believe this year Gary has actually dedicated $36,000 toward his scholarship, but global grants are $30,000 or above. There is an application. You can get it online. There's a link to it right here. For this year's global grants, the deadline is November the 2nd, and those are submission to Donna Landry. As with several of Rotary's programs, Rotarians, their spouses, their children, and their grandchildren are not eligible for these scholarships. Again, the 6 areas of focus that the scholarship has to fit in are listed here for you. And what we're looking for when we're having applicants apply, we really need for these applicants to be true international ambassadors of Rotary. So we look not only at their academic performance, but their public speaking skills, their communication skills, how involved they are within the community, and what extracurricular civic activities they've participated in during their college studies. We also ask them to have some working knowledge of Rotary, so we indoctrinate them as well, and they become the face of Rotary, so to speak. Again, to get started, we want you to seek out. We have 5 major universities in our district. There should be possibly members of your club or members of other clubs that you know who are somehow integrated within the university, or you may know someone who is studying, who is looking for some graduate studies, looking for scholarships, looking to study abroad. We need to get applications in. We're going to take those applications starting in September with a deadline of November the 1st. And again, if there's any questions, Donna has posted both her phone number and her email address. With that in mind, I would like to now introduce to you Jason L. Kobe. Jason is here to speak to us today on his Rotary Scholarship experience. He currently serves as the Executive Vice President of the Virginia Economic Development Partnership, and prior to taking this position, he was President and CEO of Acadiana One. That was a successor organization to our former Lafayette Chamber of Commerce. As a former Ambassadorial Scholar, he was selected by District 6200 in Frank Bradshaw's year. He earned a master's degree in public policy from the London School of Economics. He thereafter became a fellow Rotarian in my own home club of Lafayette until he relocated to take a job in Virginia in June of 2017. Please join me in welcoming Jason to our discussion. Jason.
Hey, everybody. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Good. Well, good evening. Great to be with y'all. Wish I could be in South Louisiana with all of you guys. First of all, I just want to say thank you. Whenever I have an opportunity to connect with a group of Rotarians like y'all, I'm just reminded of what you give to Rotary, what you give to the world through all the programs that we've talked about on the call tonight. I'm a huge beneficiary of Rotary International and your service above self. And so I just want to begin by kind of recognizing that before I really tell you a little bit about the experience. I also want to just add a second to the comments about Donna Landry. If you want to learn anything about the scholarship, just talk to Donna. A little bit of background has been shared on me already, but you might just want to know why I applied for the scholarship. So 3 kind of big reasons. One is I was I was generally interested in seeing more of the world. I was in my early 20s at the time, and I wanted to get out. And so I was very interested in the ambassadorial aspect of the scholarship. I wanted to travel. I wanted to meet other people and so forth. Secondly, I had finished a degree in engineering at LSU. I was in my early 20s. I was practicing engineering, and I felt like I needed to start thinking seriously about a graduate degree. And that's indeed what I used the Rotary Scholarship to do. But most importantly, in my case, I was thinking very seriously about a career transition. I wanted to basically focus my career on public policy, on economic development issues, and I felt like I needed the right credential to do that. And so that was a big part of why I used the Rotary Scholarship to pursue a master's in public policy at the London School of Economics. I want to talk a little bit about just the overall, I guess, process and year that might be helpful to you guys to hear. There's a lot that you can say about, the year as a scholar, and it's impossible to condense it. But I think one of the things you guys should just know is that the application process itself is an important process for the people who go through it. For most of the scholars, it's going to be, or for most of the applicants, it's going to be their first introduction to Rotary and to Rotary International. So there's a lot of people who learn about Rotary for the first time through this scholarship application process. The application itself is pretty extensive. It requires a couple of essays, at least it did at the time. I suspect that's still true. And so, for a lot of people who are applying, it's kind of an opportunity to really put their thoughts on paper about kind of where they are in life and what they want to do. And so, in that respect, the competition is helpful for both, the people who get the scholarship, but also, the many others who go through it. So, for every scholar, there's probably, I don't know the numbers, but let's say, 10 or more people who apply for it. So a lot of people getting introduced to Rotary, and also a lot of folks getting, some experience competing at a level that they probably haven't done so before. In terms of the year, I mean, first of all, when you find out that you get the scholarship, of course, it's a tremendous honor, huge validation of, sort of a young person's trajectory and sense of purpose. It's also, of course, kind of a credential in its own right that can lead to a lot of other things. For most folks who get the scholarship, I suspect it's their first time really being kind of away from home and away from kind of everything they know in a serious way. So, for me and for a lot of other scholars, it's a huge part of what you might call, the growing up process of being on your own for the first time. Obviously, an important part of the year is your study. You spend a lot of time doing graduate work and getting introduced to other students. In my case, I was at the London School of Economics and had students in my class from virtually every continent in the world. It's a year also of travel in many cases, not only within your host country, if you will, but also an opportunity to travel around that region of the world. So from London, I was able to see a lot of Europe, and in many cases, I was able to see Europe with friends who were from European countries where we went to see their homes, if you will. And then finally, an opportunity to learn about Rotary. If a scholarship is done well, the scholar has a very close connection to their host club. So it provides a little bit of surrogate parenting, if you will. It also, very importantly, I think offers an opportunity to understand the culture and understand the community through a very different lens. If you think about being a graduate student, you don't really have a lot of, particularly if you're overseas, you're not going to have necessarily a network of friends who are of different generations, 20 or 40 years older than you are. And for me, Rotary was an important part of that experience. And of course, that's a network that you can leverage, to have all sorts of cultural experiences and relationships that would otherwise not be very easily accessible for a student. So, I would just second a lot of what Harold has said about, kind of what, not only what to look for in an applicant, but also what would sort of maximize the experience for a person from South Louisiana who goes across the world through this incredible opportunity. One is you want somebody who's, got a certain amount of seriousness about, what it is they're doing in terms of, going after a graduate degree or a graduate credential. For me and for a lot of other people, it was a huge catalyst that sort of led to the next chapter of their professional lives. I think it's also important to have a person who, is relatively mature, who's going to be a good ambassador, who's going to be articulate, who's going to be able to take hard questions about what's going on in the United States and the United States' role in the world, who understands democracy, who understands free enterprise, and who's going to be an articulate and thoughtful presenter on those issues. It's going to be important, also in that respect, to have somebody who, connects to different people, who's interested in forming relationships. I mentioned, that for me, the connection to Rotary in England was a big part of the experience. They actually made me an honorary Rotarian while I was over there. And finally, I think it's important to have somebody who's really interested in getting to know, another country, another culture. In my case, I made relationships at the London School of Economics and in England that have taken me all over the world. So I've got friends in many, many capital cities and have had the chance, throughout the last 20 years to really benefit from that in personal ways and also some professional ways. So it's an extraordinary experience. I just want to thank you guys again. I don't know if we're doing Q&A, but if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Go ahead, Mike.
Go ahead. Oh, after you, Harold.
No, I was going to thank him. You might want to answer his question.
I guess the only question I really have is are there any special qualities that clubs should be looking for in identifying potential scholars?
That's a great question. I think the attributes that Harold covered earlier, I think hit most of it. I mean, obviously, you want folks who are engaged in their own communities, who demonstrate a certain amount of leadership, at the undergraduate level or in their, and or in the home community. I think the biggest thing is, particularly for those of you who are in clubs where you have a university, making sure that you've got good connections to the university. Also, I would suggest young professional organizations. So, for Ann and others in Baton Rouge, make sure that the 705 knows about it. For the folks in Lafayette, make sure that 705 is in Lafayette. 135 Baton Rouge. But yeah, good connections with the universities. I think the biggest thing is there's probably a lot of people who would be strong applicants who just don't know about it at the right time in their lives. And, then they get busy with family and other commitments before they find out about it.
Okay. Well, Jason, I want to thank you for taking the time to speak with us. If we have any time at the end, we'll open it up for more questions, but right now we need to move on to next year with Harold and Frank.
Mike. Not sure if I'm on yet. Let's see. Let me get the download again. Try it again.
There you go.
We're back on?
Yes.
You're on.
All right. So I was asked by Mike Hayes, who is the district trainer this year for Gary. He didn't mention that earlier. He's also going to be the district trainer for me as well, to put together some foundation goals. And in doing so, I asked Frank Bradshaw to join me. I want to thank Mike Collins for the 3 years that he's going to finish up with this year in handling the foundation. I have named Frank for my incoming year, 2019-2020, and I think he'll serve a 3-year term as the district foundation director. So thank you, Frank.
Welcome.
Let me see if I can get past where this goes. Guys, just having a little problems here. Come on. There it is. So I attended the Rotary International Convention in Toronto this summer, and in the acceptance remarks that were given by our incoming president, Mark Maloney, he stated something that kind of struck a chord with me, where he said that we're at a transition in Rotary, nearing the goal of a polio-free world, and with it, the end of our #1 priority that has driven us for the past 30 years, or for over 30 years. I joined Rotary 30 years ago, and when I joined, the polio effort was in its infancy, and I have really found an affinity with Polio Plus. A lot of my foundation giving, probably half and half, goes to both the Share Fund and to Polio Plus. So I think we're now at a point to where now that we've eradicated it and we're just about finished with Nigeria, we're down to 2 countries, we need to look at what our focus is going to be in the future. I think our district has always been involved with foundation, as far as I know, as long as I've been in my club and in the district. But I know that we need to stay informed and engaged, and we're going to continue to take part in the continued and new programs that are offered by that foundation. With that in mind, I have set as my goals, I wanted to start with district grants. I know that the grant certification process, or the grant application process, was streamlined years ago. And I think that possibly it wouldn't even be a bad idea if we can even simplify that grant application process so that we can get more clubs involved in the applications for district grants. I'm told that the funds that I am going to have is a much larger number than Gary has. I'll have as much as almost $90,000 to give out in district grants next year. I would love to see all of the clubs take part in that grant management training seminar so that they can be grant eligible, and that all of our clubs apply for some grant, at least one grant. I would love to see each club get at least a grant, especially if they apply for it and apply for more than one. Hopefully we can give them at least one. Again, Mike Collins was talking about clubs that don't reach that $100 per member average in foundation giving. I'm hoping that we can reach that level with a large number of clubs in the next year. I think what's going on there is a lot of our club members are really not oriented on what the foundation is, even knowing that the foundation is a different, or is the funding arm for Rotary, and that it is not Rotary International. I think if we could get speakers to go and present at several of the Rotary clubs, especially those who need a little help and a little push, and give them an ABCs or a Rotary 101 on the Rotary Foundation, I think that that would aid us greatly. And so I'm hoping that that's something that we can do. As far as global grants, I would love to see at least one of our clubs participate in a global grant during my year, or even the district at that point. I know that our club in Lafayette has a special committee going. They're looking to see about getting a global grant initiated during the year that I'm governor for 2019, 2020. I'd love to see more. Looks like I'm going to have not quite as much as 90,000 because I'm going to be asked to give some of that global grant money back to Polio Plus when Mark Maloney asked me for that when I go to San Diego this coming January. I'd like to see a vocational training team during my year. I was fortunate enough to be the team leader for the inaugural vocational training team for our district back in 2011 under Governor Clarence's year. I would like to see one. I'd like to at least do one where we go out to a country or bring a country in. It would be excellent if we can have an exchange in the same Rotary year where both teams are able to visit each other's country. I do plan to see if we can get global grant scholars. I'd love to see the application process continue in my year. I think there'll be enough money left in the monies that are coming back to the district for us to at least fund one, possibly even two. Those are pretty much my goals for the coming year. Frank is here to join me and to talk to you about some of the goals and some of the issues he sees coming in as the foundation chair for next year. Frank?
Thank you, Harold. As you can see, Governor-elect Harold has laid out some pretty lofty yet realistic goals for us in the coming Rotary year. To help achieve those goals, the District Rotary Foundation Committee will undertake 3 initiatives. First, it is our plan to raise awareness. We want to make clubs aware of the many opportunities for them to become involved in the various programs offered by the Rotary Foundation and encourage their participation. And the main reason for this is we believe that once Rotarians understand the why of the foundation and its impact both in their communities and worldwide, support of the Rotary Foundation will follow. To raise this awareness, we will continue to use the following, such as the governor's newsletter and the district website, but we're also going to concentrate on some new avenues of communication, such as social media, conducting club presentations, offering online seminars to cover such subjects as global grants, district grants, global scholarships, Polio Plus, and the other programs that are under the umbrella of the Rotary Foundation. We're planning to have a district foundation e-letter, which may be a 1 or 2 page letter published either bi-monthly or quarterly, which will give updates on the foundation so the clubs can stay current in what's happening. And finally, we want to develop a district-based system of resources, and that material can be easily accessed by clubs and at the district level. Our next initiative will be the introduction of a new model for grants management training. In addition to making both the application and the process a little more user-friendly, we want to offer club leadership the opportunity to complete their grant management training and earn grant certification online. This online training will be comprised of a series of modules designed to give an introduction into the foundation, how to apply for grants, be it a district or a global grant, and then how to manage the grant process and how to successfully complete and close out a grant. As a side note, the incoming club presidents will still be able to complete their grant certification training at the 2019 PETS. Our last initiative, and probably the most important, will be the launching of a new funding model for the allocation of district grant funding. This model will be designed to encourage or provide encouragement for clubs to apply for district grants, and hopefully it will provide equal funding to all clubs applying for grants. All these initiatives and the information regarding each, we plan to roll out shortly after the first of the year in order that we can coincide with the change in club leadership teams. And with that, I will kick it back to Mike. Hey, Bo.
Mike, you muted.
Mike Hayes.
All right. Well, no wonder you weren't listening to me. I just said that it was exciting to see these ambitions be rolled out for next year, and I'm looking forward to watching you guys succeed. I have a couple of questions, but before I get to those, I wanted to give Governor Gary the opportunity to give us a couple of thoughts. Gary?
Thanks, Mike. Well, you can see, folks, you have been giving us some feedback that we need to shift and get more in line with the way that the world and technology is working. I think you're seeing the results of that. I think your feedback has been helpful in us crafting the thought process that we've gone through to get to where we are. I think you see some of the ambitious goals that we have for the foundation are going to help us make more impact in the communities, which is what we're all about. I think Mike Hayes hit on it earlier about when you start thinking about the foundation as your charity of choice, that brings in a whole new dimension to why the foundation is so important, and the ways that we're going to try going forward to make sure that more clubs have easy access to apply for grants, to get trained, and to be able to be a part of that whole grant process. I do want to thank the presenters. This has been an informative evening, And I hope it has been for you. We, as in others, we're going to make things available online, so people that weren't able to join us this evening will be able to watch this stuff later on. So with that, I'm going to toss it back to Mike Hayes to wrap this thing up for us.
Yeah, I had one question for Mike Collins. That question was, what was the motivating factor that clubs recognized that came up with an increase in giving to the foundation? Was it awareness? Was it fundraising? Or was it something else?
Okay, it's actually a combination of each. Fundraising played an important factor, but because of our economically depressed times, some clubs put forth effort. However, some of these true believers of the foundation decided that they wanted to start making people in their family Paul Harris fellows, and they wanted to accumulate more points to entice their club members, possibly match them on some of the points. And we're really trying to get more involvement, whether you want to just be a Paul Harris Society member, or if you can't afford it, again, you could be, instead of a sustaining member, you give $200 or $50 a quarter, and you could be a double sustaining member. And your club secretary could possibly post some signs in the clubhouse as you get visitors to see who's their double sustaining members, Paul Harris Society members. And all this makes a big difference with our foundation, a little bit. And this is what our district is. Clubs coming together for one main purpose, to make a difference and to also do something positive in our world.
All right, thank you, Mike. Yvonne pointed out that Rotary signage needs to be highlighted on all grant projects. For example, putting the Rotary logo on the backpacks with a heat set logo sticker, which is the perfect lead-in, Yvonne, for on September 10th. We will be having our next and final of the 3, and that will be the PR training. So please, please make it a point to be there on September 10th. Does anyone else have a question before we go? Big Rich, you got a question? Okay, hearing none. Thank you all for participating. I hope this was worth the hour, and we appreciate you sticking with us.
Thanks, Mike Hayes.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mike.